Have you ever felt fear or disappointment when you had to let go of your desires? Or have you ever overthought big dreams that you couldn't definitively let go of? Sometimes holding on to unfulfilled dreams or desires beyond our control makes us feel insecure, as if we're trapped in a never-ending cycle with no way out. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. We often get stuck in limiting beliefs, fearing that letting go of the things we love is a form of failure. But think about this. Can you truly change your life if you don't let go of what no longer serves you? If your answer is yes to any of the above questions, then this is the moment you need to listen, because this video will open up a new path for you. Let's explore the power of letting go and how it can help you reclaim your true power in this life. Because only when we let go, we realize that true freedom doesn't come from what we have, but from the ability to free ourselves from unnecessary dependencies. Emotional detachment does not mean denying or running away from the natural emotions that humans experience. In reality, emotional detachment involves a process of self-awareness where we recognize and understand our emotional responses, but do not let them control our actions and thoughts. Negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, or fear often stem from external factors beyond our control. However, through the lens of Stoicism, it is essential to learn how to separate ourselves from these reactions so that they do not dominate us. Certainly in life, we cannot avoid emotionally charged situations. These could be a workplace argument, a misunderstanding in a relationship, or an unforeseen event that deeply affects us. However, Stoicism teaches us that emotions are not something we should allow to govern us. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And this statement emphasizes that while external events may trigger our emotions, our attitude and response are what truly matter. To achieve inner peace, it is necessary to detach our emotions from things beyond our control. Emotional detachment does not mean we must become cold or indifferent. In reality, Stoic practitioners learn to recognize emotions, accept them, but not let them dictate their actions. One of the key principles of Stoicism is distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot. Emotions, whether anxiety, fear, or anger, often arise from external factors that we cannot control, such as an argument with a colleague or a failure at work. The only thing we can truly control is how we respond. When you develop this ability, you will notice a significant change in how you handle difficult situations. These could be a disagreement with a loved one, a career setback, or a strained relationship. Stoicism encourages us to accept that some things are beyond our influence. Emotions like anger and anxiety, though natural reactions, only increase stress and lead to rash decisions if left unchecked. There are also historical figures who have exemplified exceptional emotional detachment. Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest figures in American history, is a prime example of emotional detachment in times of adversity. Before becoming president, Lincoln endured numerous failures in his life. He failed in business, lost a bid for the House of Representatives, and faced multiple election defeats before ultimately achieving the highest office in the U.S. government. However, what set Lincoln apart was his ability to separate emotions from these failures. When confronted with harsh criticism from the public and political opponents, Lincoln did not allow himself to be consumed by negative emotions. Even as the American Civil War claimed countless lives and created immense tension, he remained steadfast and composed, refusing to let fear and anger dictate his decisions. Even in the most challenging moments when the nation was on the brink of division, Lincoln held firm to his values and made crucial decisions with rationality. This very ability helped him maintain stability in a country torn apart by war, and ultimately ensured that he would be remembered as one of the greatest presidents in history. Lincoln was able to separate his emotions so that they would not cloud his leadership clarity, laying the foundation for groundbreaking decisions. Applying Stoicism in life does not mean we must live as emotionless, indifferent individuals. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages us to recognize and understand our emotions, but not let them dictate our actions. Negative emotions such as anger or anxiety are often natural reactions to situations beyond our control. However, if we allow them to take the lead, they will only result in hasty and irrational decisions. The key is learning to separate emotions from situations, maintain composure, and make wiser decisions. As Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Feelings of anxiety or fear about an event are often products of our imagination rather than actual reality. We tend to envision the worst-case scenarios, yet, in reality, things often turn out far less severe than we expect. When we can detach our emotions from these imagined fears, we find it easier to face reality with calmness and resilience. Just as in daily life, practicing Stoicism helps us prevent negative emotions from controlling our lives. This does not mean we must suppress our emotions or disregard the feelings of others. Instead, we learn to manage them and prevent negative emotions from driving our actions. Emotional detachment is a skill that requires practice, and the more we refine it, the better we can maintain inner peace and strength in any situation. Ultimately, emotional detachment not only helps us sustain inner tranquility, but also allows us to live a life of freedom and empowerment. When we no longer let external emotions control us, we become stronger, more confident, and more capable of facing any challenge life presents. We often get caught up in things beyond our control. Emotions, unexpected situations, but can you let go of those things and reclaim your power? Discover how the Stoic philosophy teaches us not only to accept, but also to cultivate strong self-mastery by relinquishing what we cannot control. This is the next step to restoring your peace and inner strength. 2. Let go of what you cannot control. Have you been feeling more anxious than usual lately? Do you feel pressured by the expectations of others, or even yourself? Due to your age, gender, or life stage, our personal experiences, along with elections, inflation, climate change, and other global issues can add to our anxiety. There is so much happening, and it may feel like everything is out of control. These worries stem from many sources, including work pressure, uncertainty about the future, and a sense of helplessness in the face of major societal changes. In times like these, it is crucial to recognize one of the core principles of Stoic philosophy, distinguishing between what we can change and what we cannot. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. As Seneca once said, meaning that much of the pain we experience originates from our thoughts about things we cannot control. Instead of getting caught up in endless worries about the future or external factors, Stoicism encourages us to learn how to let go, release what cannot be changed, and focus on what we can improve. This lesson is not just a theoretical principle. It is a practical way of living that helps us maintain peace of mind in a chaotic world. When faced with events beyond our control, letting go is an act of strength, not weakness. It is not about giving up, but about choosing not to let uncontrollable factors dictate our emotions. We often encounter situations where acceptance is the only option rather than change. Think about a long-planned trip that suddenly gets disrupted by rain or a storm. Instead of letting disappointment take over, you can choose to adapt. Seek alternative solutions or simply enjoy what is available to you. A quote from Epictetus that always makes me reflect is, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This serves as a reminder that it is not external events that determine our lives, but rather how we process and respond to them. Instead of feeling powerless and reacting with negativity, you can choose to control your response. The feeling of losing control only arises when we cling to things beyond our ability to change. When we let go, we rediscover our true strength. The important thing to remember is that while we cannot change everything, we can change how we face and react to situations. Human psychology tends to focus on judging external events that are beyond our control. We may worry about political issues, climate change, or even other people's actions. However, Stoicism teaches us that this kind of anxiety is unnecessary. It does not solve the problem, but only adds stress and robs us of our inner peace. Why let uncontrollable factors cause suffering? Remember that life is full of inevitable events. What truly matters is how you choose to let go of them and focus on the things you can control. Doing so not only brings peace of mind, but also makes you feel more empowered in life. True freedom comes from the ability to separate yourself from factors beyond your control and shift your focus toward what you can change. We must also understand that letting go does not mean giving up. On the contrary, it is the action of someone who deeply understands their limits and strengths. We do not need to control everything in life. Once we realize this, we will feel lighter and be able to regain our inner strength. Ask yourself, what in my life can I change right now? If the answer is nothing, except for how you control your thoughts and emotions, then that is exactly where you should begin. Focusing on what you can control is the key to living a life that is not dictated by external circumstances. While we cannot change events or situations that occur, we can change how we perceive and respond to them. Be the one who chooses how to live rather than letting external factors dictate your mood and life. Practicing detachment is a way to demonstrate true strength and the first step in reclaiming power from what is beyond your control. Share your thoughts on how you let go and prevent uncontrollable factors from affecting your emotions in the comments section of this video. Do you have any personal experiences in learning to manage your emotions? Let me know your answer in the comments below. 3. Focus on what you can control. It is easy to let others decide your thoughts, emotions, and feelings. Whether it is someone on social media or the people we spend time with, we often focus on things we cannot control and forget that in reality we have a great deal of power. It is true that there are many things beyond our control, but there are also many things we can control. This requires continuous effort, but as you progress, you will start to pay more attention and become more aware of your triggers. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus's quote is not just a reminder of humility and simplicity in life, but also a call for each individual to focus on what they can control. Epictetus advises us to seek peace from within ourselves, rather than relying on external factors. In reality, there is only one thing we can truly control. In life ourselves, our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Once you become fully aware of this, you will realize that one of the key factors in achieving peace in life is the ability to discern what can be controlled and what cannot. That is true power. Imagine you are facing a stressful situation at work, where a colleague disrespects you or rejects your ideas without reason. Instead of letting their negativity affect you, you can choose to control your own reactions, feelings, and actions. You can decide not to overreact, but instead remain calm, respond professionally, and continue working with a strong mindset. This shift not only helps you manage your emotions, but also creates a strong impression on those around you. The most important thing is that you can practice this every day. For example, if you find yourself in a tense conversation with a family member, instead of letting hurtful words make you lose control, you can choose to remain silent and respond calmly, always maintaining respect for yourself and the other person. This is precisely how Stoicism teaches us to live, letting go of what we cannot control and focusing on ourselves. A real-life story about Wangari Maathai illustrates this principle. Wangari Maathai was one of the most prominent figures in the environmental protection and women's rights movement in Kenya. As the founder of the Greenbelt movement, she campaigned for tree planting to combat deforestation while also advocating for women's empowerment and equality. Despite facing strong opposition from the government and society, Maathai never abandoned her mission. Throughout her journey, she was imprisoned, threatened, and faced immense hardships. Yet she remained steadfast in her belief that change could come from small actions. She firmly believed that planting trees was not just about protecting the environment, but also a way to empower women, helping them achieve economic independence and elevate their roles in society. She successfully created an international movement helping millions of women in Kenya and across Africa transform their lives through trees. Wangari Maathai proved that even in the most difficult circumstances, if you focus on what you can control and persist in your ideals, you can change the world. This does not mean you have to become an emotionless, unfeeling person. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages you to understand and respect your emotions, but not let them dictate your actions. When you learn to recognize your own limitations and let go of external factors beyond your control, you will realize that you are the one who determines your happiness and peace in life. In an important meeting, if you feel that your opinions are not being heard, do not react hastily with anger or frustration. Instead, you can control how you present your points in a persuasive and professional manner. You can use body language to convey confidence, maintain a calm tone, and avoid letting the tension from those around you shake your composure. At that moment, you are not only controlling your own actions, but also influencing the emotions of those around you, making them view you with respect. Imagine you are engaged in a heated discussion with colleagues or friends, and you notice that some individuals are making personal attacks against you. Instead of reacting strongly, you can ask yourself, what is truly within my control? Can I change their attitude? The answer is no. You cannot change them, but you can change how you respond. Silence, patience, and emotional control are powerful tools that allow you to maintain your dignity and take control of the situation. This may be a long-term practice, but once you master it, you will notice a significant change in how you perceive and respond to the world around you. And when you start realizing that you can control yourself in any situation, you will understand that you have reclaimed your true power, the power of calmness and self-mastery unaffected by external factors. So the final question you need to ask yourself is, will you continue to let uncontrollable external factors dictate your emotions and actions, or will you focus on what you can change, yourself? Choose the freedom of self-control, and you will find the strength and peace you have always been searching for. By focusing on what you can control, you will not only free yourself from the constraints of emotions, but also regain true power in your life. As Epictetus once said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. It is your reaction to life, not what happens to you, that truly matters. 4. Accept change and uncertainty. Change is unavoidable. Without it, life would become stagnant. Although change and uncertainty are constant realities of life, they are not always present everywhere. We are constantly bombarded with headlines that make us feel uncertain about the future, whether it be politics, economic instability, or climate change. Technology, science, and business have developed exponentially, leading to rapid change and making us more uncertain than ever. While this increased awareness helps us stay informed about the world, it can also make us uneasy and anxious. This anxiety is not random, but rather a result of our inability to control or dictate everything happening around us. At that moment, Stoicism offers us a valuable lesson. Accept change and uncertainty as an inevitable part of life. Much of our suffering stems from imagining what could happen rather than from reality itself. Instead of accepting change, we immerse ourselves in endless worries about things beyond our control. This leads to feelings of helplessness and stress, making the process of facing change even more overwhelming. However, according to Stoicism, this fear is self-created, and if we learn to confront change with mindfulness, we can find strength in uncertainty. Mike's story is a clear example of change and the ability to embrace uncertainty. Mike was an office worker with a stable job at a large company where he had worked for many years. However, one day the company suddenly announced that he and many colleagues would be laid off due to restructuring. This news left Mike shocked and disappointed. He had lived in a safe world where he knew everything, and job stability was an essential part of his life. But now everything had changed. At first, Mike fell into despair. He worried about his future, his ability to provide for his family, and his unpaid loans. But instead of letting fear take over, he chose to view the situation differently. Mike was not the only one affected. In fact, many others were facing similar changes. However, instead of drowning in disappointment, he decided to see this as an opportunity to change his life's direction. He started taking online courses to improve his skills and explored new fields he had always been interested in but never dared to pursue. Over time, Mike not only found a new job but also realized that he was living in a vast world full of opportunities he had never imagined before. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Epictetus's words engrave an essential principle of Stoic philosophy into our minds: do not let external factors dictate your life. When we cling tightly to things we cannot control, such as jobs, possessions, or reputation, we will always feel insecure. Accepting change and uncertainty allows us to gradually break free from the vicious cycle of dependence on external circumstances. If we learn to master our mindset and emotions, instead of being controlled by external factors, we will find true strength from within. Mike did this. Instead of feeling down about losing his job, he chose to focus on what he could change himself. He continuously learned, improved his personal skills, expanded his network, and explored possibilities he had never considered before. This transformation not only helped him find a new job, but also brought a sense of freedom and peace he had never experienced. This does not mean giving up on plans or dreams. In Stoic philosophy, accepting change does not equate to surrender or resignation. On the contrary, it is a form of asserting self-mastery and inner strength. We cannot control everything that happens around us, but we can fully control how we respond to those events. It is precisely this flexibility in thinking and the ability to embrace uncertainty that enables us to grow and evolve. When we embrace change as a part of life, we can view it from a different perspective. Change is no longer a threat, but an opportunity. Every setback, every shock, every challenge carries the potential to make us stronger. Accepting uncertainty frees us from invisible fears and instead allows us to find freedom in our actions and thoughts. It is like learning to steer a boat in a storm rather than fearing and giving up in the face of giant waves. Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body, Seneca pointed out. Seneca's insight teaches that life's hardships train our minds just as physical labor strengthens the body. Every challenge, big or small, is an opportunity for personal growth and a test of our limits. When faced with change and uncertainty, we can choose to see these difficulties as part of our self-development rather than as insurmountable obstacles. The key is understanding that change is not always easy. Sometimes we have to confront major hardships and deep emotional pain. But if we remain patient and steadfast, we will learn to master our emotions and rebuild our inner strength from these challenges. Change may initially be a shock, but ultimately it becomes a source of power that helps us rise even stronger. By learning to accept change and uncertainty, we not only discover new opportunities, but also reclaim our inner strength. This is not just about adjusting our external circumstances, but about undergoing a profound shift in how we perceive the world and ourselves. Instead of feeling defeated by life's upheavals, we will find peace in acceptance and autonomy in action. Restoring inner strength is not easy, but it is a journey that each of us can begin today. Only when we embrace change and uncertainty can we truly regain control of our lives and rediscover the true power within. 5. Reclaim your power. Sometimes life seems out of control. It feels like we are constantly putting out fires, solving one problem after another, and before we even realize it, years have passed. We make no progress toward our goals and dreams, and worse, we come to the realization that we haven't done what we truly love. However, there is a secret that Stoicism reveals to attain inner peace and freedom. We must learn to detach from external factors and embrace change as an inevitable part of life. When we let go of things beyond our control and recognize that the only thing we can truly control is our own response, our inner strength is restored. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus's words carry profound meaning. Freedom only comes when we can let go of things beyond our control. We cannot change what has happened or what is happening outside of ourselves, but we can absolutely control how we respond to these events. All anxieties, anger, and resentment stem from clinging to things we cannot control. Thus, releasing these attachments is the path to freedom and the restoration of inner strength. When we understand that nothing in life is permanent, we begin to accept change, and from there, we find peace. Acceptance does not mean giving up all hope or goals, but rather recognizing that no matter how hard we try, some things will happen beyond our will. Letting go of what we cannot control is an act of liberating ourselves from dependency on them. All worries about the future, regrets about the past, and fears in the present can only control our lives if we allow them to. When we relinquish control over external factors, we are no longer swept away by the storms of life. Instead, we can stand firm, confident, and at peace. A real-life example of regaining strength through letting go can be seen in the story of Dr. Randy P., who became famous for his lecture, The Last Lecture. Randy was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer and was given only a few months to live. Instead of being consumed by fear and anxiety about death, he chose to face this reality with courage and positivity. He did not let his illness dictate his life. Instead, he decided to live each day to the fullest. Randy focused not only on cherishing every moment with his family and friends, but also used his remaining time to share valuable lessons with the world, particularly through his renowned lecture. Rather than worrying about things he could not change, he spent every moment inspiring others and leaving a legacy of resilience and passion for life. His story is not about giving up on life, but rather about reaffirming inner strength, finding freedom by fully embracing life's core values and passions. He did not fear death. Instead, he lived with peace and appreciation for every last moment. The story of Randy P. is not just a testament to letting go, but also a powerful reminder of rediscovering the inner strength within each of us. When we no longer have to grapple with the fear of death, we begin to live more fully. No longer consumed by meaningless worries, we start to realize that life is not a series of events to be controlled, but a collection of moments to be freely enjoyed. In doing so, we not only restore our inner strength, but also find true freedom in life. When applying Stoic philosophy to daily life, we learn to perceive every situation with calmness and avoid being swept away by negative emotions. This does not mean we are not allowed to feel, but rather that we learn how to manage our emotions so they do not dictate our actions. However, regaining this strength is not always easy. Letting go is challenging for all of us, especially when facing difficult situations. Yet, it is precisely in these challenges that we have the opportunity to uncover the hidden strength within ourselves. Letting go is not an act of surrender, but a profound understanding of our limitations and those of life itself. This is one of the core lessons of Stoic philosophy. When you understand what lies beyond your control, you no longer waste energy on meaningless things. Instead, you direct your energy toward what truly matters, and through that, you restore your inner strength. From this understanding, Stoicism is not just a philosophy of life, but also an art of living. It teaches us how not to be swept up in life's chaos, but instead to learn how to let go of what we cannot control and focus on what we can change. Through this, we rediscover our true strength and live a life of peace, freedom, and meaning. In life, we often face challenges and negative emotions, but the key to rediscovering our inner strength lies in detaching from emotions and letting go of things beyond our control. Stoic philosophy not only teaches us how to confront difficulties, but also helps us focus on what we can change, allowing us to take control of our lives. Remember, true strength comes from within, and when you free yourself from unnecessary burdens, you will experience a sense of freedom and inner peace. Apply these Stoic principles to your daily life, and don't forget to share this video if you find it helpful. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video. Wishing you strength and success on your journey of self-growth.